Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 2023 Facilities Committee meeting here in the Cheltenham School District. I will first start with a roll call, and I'll go around the table counterclockwise. Mr. Epps. Present. Ms. Loman.
Here.
Ms. Mulhern.
Here.
Ms. Haywood.
Present.
Mr. Schultz.
Here.
Mr. Cohen. Present. Mr. Fishbine. Ms. Henry.
Present.
I'm also present. We have a forum and the entire board is here tonight. Next action would be for approval of minutes of our February meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Mulhern with the second. All those, I'm sorry.
Just one comment,
Yep.
and this is just a question. Do we normally include the full name of the folks who made public comment?
Oh, I see that.
Yeah.
Good
I don't know
question.
if we have their name. Or anything like.
I think we can ask that question.
No, I'm sorry.
No, this is for the facilities. That's a good point.
I'm sorry, I'm always coming to.
Yeah, I think we can work on that. Just Swire just taking note of that currently. Great. So just considering the change to ensure that the names are spelled out specifically, so we know who it was to make comment. Otherwise, are we okay to approve? Yes. So I have a vote, please. Any opposed? All right, ayes have it, and that passes. I will pass it over to Mr. Holman for our presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. Let's just get started. As you can see, that is the univentilator, cabinet univentilator from at the high school that caught on fire. Actually started smoking, and it caused the building to be evacuated. That was the second time that day that the building was evacuated. The first time was due to too much hair spray or Lysol being sprayed in the bathroom.
Who even uses that?
Sorry. Yeah, it's what it is. It's one of those things. But I wanted to show it to you, share this with you so that you have understanding of what caused the issue if you were to hear it in the in the streets. Next slide, please. So we got hit. We were, I won't say attacked, but we were assessed, thank you, by this Montgomery County Department of Public Health for our kitchens. And it's what it is. They're right in what they said, what they saw, and how they assessed us. So we made corrections. The next slide, please. So we have this, that's before picture, it's the after picture. It's the little things, right? So if you do the little things right, sometimes the big things don't bite you. Next slide, please. This Elkins Park, we had to cover the conduit in that school. All surfaces have to be easily cleaned. So that was what was one of the things that was done there. Next slide, please. Also at Elkins Park, drain cleaning. That's a high pressure hose. It's really 3,000 pounds of pressure, and it'll clear anything. So next slide, please. That is the shed for the softball team. It's going to be painted blue, and it's going to, as soon as we get some warm weather. So it's, like I said, it's just little things. So you have to sometimes, we know we're not going to get a new building anytime soon, but we have to invest what we have and keep everybody's spirits up. So, all right. So that concludes my presentation.
So a couple just real quick things, Mr. Verdell, before you open it up. Want to give an update just around where we are with our custodial supervisor position. There was a total of 17 interviews. I would have never done 17, but it wasn't me calling the shot on that. Mr. Holman wanted to make sure that we casted a wide net. So Monday was 10, today was 7. It's been screened down to 2. They will be interviewed next week, and then 1 will come forward for my consideration. So we're that much closer to filling that gap. So that's just an additional update that wasn't a part of the report. That's just real time. Mr. Holman was very political with his assessment of why all 7 of our kitchens were inspected out of nowhere. I'll let you guys read between the lines in terms of the change that happened in that area. But I want you to have a level of awareness of, we think there may have been some foul play that was put out there, which necessitated that. But we look at it as continuous improvement. And so we are addressing all of those issues, which are ultimately going to enhance all of those spaces. We have a little less than a month. Mr. Swigert has a meeting with Wistons along with Mr. Holman tomorrow, because there were some things that they need to do on their end. But we'll make sure that we're not negatively impacted. That's something that I have prioritized, because we can't afford to have any kitchens shut down and food not being able to be served. So that has been a priority for us. So I just wanted to uplift those things. I would say that in front of the board, I do want to update for the board in terms of where we are from the standpoint of selecting a vendor with respect to our maintenance tracking process. I'm gonna keep it high level, but that's something that a lot of attention have been given. We've done a pivot, but we need to give an update on that pivot. So I'm making that request, so the board doesn't have to make that request. Let's make that as part of an update for our next facilities meeting. So those were just the high level things that I wanted to put on the table. We're moving the right direction, and we're tightening some things up. So I am encouraged by that. A lot of attention and care is going into EP right now, and just trying to get the right people at place at the right school buildings. Not everybody, believe it or not, is the right fit at certain buildings. So we're being very intentional around how we're assigning folks.
Talking about custodial staff. Talking about custodial staff.
Definitely, yeah. And making sure that they're working collaboratively as teams, and just trying to heighten the accountability around that. This position that we're attempting to fill is strictly second shift. We've been crystal clear about that. That's been a missing piece. There was clearly a disconnect in that with the last hire, and that has been rectified. And I think that that will help significantly with monitoring our workforce on that second shift, which is critical. They have to be there physically to do that. So that's it for me. Back to you, sir.
I appreciate that. One clarifying question just on one of the points here in regards to the inspections.
Yes.
So all 7 schools?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, sir. A report was made on all 7, and we are currently doing corrective action to address all 7. That's information that we can share. We can put that in the report. and give you what those recommendations were. So if we could have that ready for Friday, it's a very easy read. It's bulleted in terms of what we had to address at each one of those schools.
Perfect. I appreciate the clarity.
Yep.
So on that and on presented items of the night, I want to put out there for the board. If you all have any questions, comments in regards to what we discussed, Mr. Fishbine.
Yeah, on the presentation, the fire alarm sounded twice. It worked.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, that's good.
Here's the thing, when it doesn't call out to the fire department.
Okay,
So what it does is you have to evacuate the building physically. But it does, the fire alarm does sound. It just, it's, when how can I explain it the right way? When the full system is full, it sounds, but it doesn't call out to the fire department. So we won't get any false alarm calls from the fire department. But if we do need the fire department to respond, then we just call on the phone and they respond. All right,
Like they did respond to the second one,
Yep.
but not to the first one.
correct.
Because on the panel, it tells you exactly where the alarm was sounded. And our folks are pretty thorough. They then go back to the cameras. They were able to identify the what happened based on knowing where it happened and then looking at the cameras to see what happened. The second one with the relay was smoke. It was due calls to evacuate as well. So that was a rough day.
well, but
On the high school.
it's encouraging that it worked, you know, because that wasn't entirely clear that it would. So
Yeah.
now that we know it does, that's a good thing.
You're following up, a while back, there was discussion about, I think it's a fire watch, because the fire alarm system was not working or was old or antiquated. Can you give an update about that, if that's still in process or if that was alleviated or resolved?
No, we are still under fire watch, which is what Mr. Holman was explaining, is that the alarms will sound, go off. They're just not calling the fire department. We have to manually do that. And that's why it's classified as a fire watch. Can we give an update about where we are from?
Sure. We engaged with Snyder Hoffman to do a redesign and replacement of the entire fire alarm system in the high school. It's clear that there are parts of it that are outdated and don't communicate with some of the newer parts. So redesign was in order. We signed a $16,000 contract with them to do the redesign. They came out on February 17th to do the initial inspection. Due to supply chain issues, we're probably looking at a best case scenario over the summer replacement, but necessary. I mean, it's a life safety issue that does not work properly.
So is there somebody at the high school and more than one person there 24/7 doing this function or?
No, not 24, not 24/7.
Yes.
Yeah, so I live across from the high school, so I saw the students go out of the building and I texted Ms. Henry and said, do you know what's going on? If you want to bother you, talk to me.
And I did, he had already contacted. me.
Yeah, so she let me know. Just because I was worried that there was something going on. But my question has relates to that unit ventilator overheating. Was that repaired or do we expect that could happen?
It is due to the age of those components. It can happen anytime. It's been transparent. If I wasn't truthful with you, you wouldn't have a problem with that, right? So, just it can happen at any time. But the thing is, they are maintained, they are clean. So you know we have a handle.
Thank you.
So I need clarity myself. Marcella, she's being nice by accepting that response. Can you give a little more clarity on what that part does, what it is, how it impacts the building, how many of them are there in the building? I just need a better understanding.
I can give you a complete count on Friday because there was a lot of them in the building. And not just that one relay, but there are a bunch of relays in the building.
And what's their function?
Their function is to turn the heat on and off in the unit ventilator. That's what it really does.
And was that one repaired?
No, it wasn't repaired. It was, as of right now, it was not repaired, no. Yes,
So how do we know it's not still faulty at this point?
because it was turned off.
Okay.
Yeah, it was turned off. I'm
So
sorry.
I'm just gonna walk you through. This is how we build capacity. But I don't want, there to be any reservation around our current state. So when I need to jump in, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Absolutely.
And coach my team through so that you guys are satisfied with the responses and have a clear understanding.
Will that relay be replaced?
Yes,
at
it
some
will be
point?
replaced,
It'll be
yes.
replaced, okay.
Just waiting on the parts to come in, that's all.
And does that service a certain part of the home?
Room 206, it's just one room, yeah. Yes,
This is maybe tying all this together with, and it might be related to the feasibility study, not to pursue, but items like this, would they have appeared or did they appear on the deeper analysis of our existing facilities that we did a couple of years ago, which I understand was pretty comprehensive, where they went through and would have tagged things. And so the root of my question is, I know that 2.5 years before COVID, there was a list of, hey, these are urgent, need to be dealt with in the next X year, like next 2 years. And I think it was like in the order of like, I'm gonna just assume millions of dollars worth of repairs, but some of that might have been roofs. So the question is, are there things we need to take out of that study from the past to deal with sort of preventatively? We know that these things aren't working and are likely to fail anytime. So it's a question, I guess it's a joint question for you, Josh.
yeah, I won't say they're prone to fail. They just fail at any time. You know, they're like a car. You go to a car, start, it might start, it might not start. You know, just how old the battery is. And that's what it is. So basically it's a battery. So, you know, if you look at it from that perspective, this is what it is.
And I hear that.
Mhm.
I guess, and I also recognize that the feasibility study we're about to perform is probably grander scale looking at.
Yeah,
what we're gonna do with our
the
building.
feasibility study will not drill
It will not be drilled
down to that minute
Makes
level.
sense. So
Right.
given that, are there items that we maybe should be prioritizing in the next months or next year around, hey, look, we know we need to invest X tens of thousands of dollars to replace certain pieces of hardware that have been identified as old parts of the car. And that's really the root of my question. So I guess, do you have a sense?
I was about to answer your question
I
specifically.
saw
Regarding
that.
regarding the fire alarm. So according to that EMG asset cap report, there was supposed to be a couple years left on the fire alarm, but it is a decades long asset. So it was essentially near the end of its life. It just puttered out slightly earlier than anticipated. We did make some repairs to it earlier this year in hopes to keep it afloat because it is quite a sizable project to fix. And that was at the recommendation of Johnson Controls, the company that was the proprietary pieces of that fire alarm. They deemed that it would still work if we made these certain repairs. That ended up not being the case. That just meant that another section failed. And it was finally got to the point where we can't keep piecemealing something that's so vital to the safety of our children. So
Now, Dan, were you referencing the fire alarm or the relay switch?
Honestly, it was kind of all of the, it was a more meta question, which both were responsive to the question, but it is more, are there items on a list somewhere that we already know about
Yes.
that we maybe should pick up that list and say, you
Yes.
know what, let's.
So I don't know if we
proactively
sent that
solve this.
report out to everyone, but the report that you were referencing is for each one of our buildings in the district, which gives us recommendations over time in terms of life of
Right.
specific items and what those repairs should look like. So that is an item that we did not outsource for the vendor who was coming out to do the feasibility study because we already have it. But that is something that will be furnished to them where they can use as part of that general report that they will be submitting to us.
And that makes sense. And what I'm specifically asking is, should we, in addition to that part, which is gonna inform larger scale decisions like, is this building worth renovating or replacing? Are there
The answer
items-
is yes.
So then how, so maybe instead of a yes or no, it's what should we be doing over the coming months to proactively address?
Part of that is the vendor that I put out to the team
Mhm.
that we want to update on. Because that's the role that really plays.
Okay.
It's not just about work orders, it's around, everything has a life, right? And we need a system in place that's monitoring where our equipment is on that life cycle and what items on a rotating cycle should be revisited.
Understood.
And that's the piece. When we talk about a multi-year plan, it's not just from a capital standpoint, it's also from a maintenance standpoint.
Part two of your question is looking at what that list is. It's some of the bigger ticket items is saying to do now, for like sealing of driveways in elementary schools, which being at this part of the plan, I'm not ready to drop $250,000 on a driveway seal until we get a better idea how we're going to use all the resources we have. Some of the other issues, as you can imagine, are directly related to Elkins Park, and that's also part of the bigger question. So rather than go in and start yanking out, HVAC or boiler equipment, and spending that money, I think the grander answer needs to be made, or grander answer the question, what are we doing with that property?
Makes a lot of sense.
Different calculus. The key though is that we should be hopefully using that list to avoid being reported to on a monthly basis about the next component that failed, rather than having fixed it perhaps cheaper than after it failed. That would be the goal, right? And I'm not suggesting that it'd be easy, but the things that are past their useful life that could catch on fire, for example, might be higher on.
It would be nice to get to that point. This district has never been at that point. We've always been at a reactive stage, and that's part of why we're really doing our due diligence to come up with a plan. That's part of what's in that goal under finance and facilities, to have a plan that we're working and not being worked, right? And it's all been reactive to this point. We all know that. Another big piece is even when you look at, because this is a huge one for me, but we've got to wait until we're there. We can't be premature, but the HVAC at the high school is another huge one. Like, we can't keep going through these crucial months of heat with kids not having HVAC at the high school. I mean, it's not a conducive learning environment. Well, we can't be premature and just jump out and do that until we see what the big picture is first, and then funnel down. That's just another example, right? So Josh, this is why we use DP. But
That asset calc has all the information.
Yeah.
It is a very valuable, it was a good investment.
I appreciate that. And just what I'm hearing is we are both pursuing it on the macro level through our feasibility study and explorations, and we're also pursuing it on the micro level by identifying a new vendor for the sort of data management. So I appreciate administration's on it. Thank you.
And I would just want to comment that preventive maintenance, as we have buildings that are less than new right now, that in order for them to be maintained, we have to, on parallel tracks, have to do the preventive maintenance. Because we don't want to have another EP occur because we've ignored some of the preventive maintenance that we can do now. I mean, I'm saying the obvious.
No, but you're 100%. I had maybe a little hair before I started. There's none now over, like, that keeps me up, just figuring out the best thing to do, because we always talk about equity and our buildings are not equity. And that's an issue.
And you missed Cedar Brook. A huge failure of.
I would've, I'm not gonna go, you're not gonna set me on that little track there. I'm not going down that hole. I received the comment.
Appreciate all that. Around
do with that facilities condition assessment report, evaluate that. And then, yeah, definitely do something short. So I appreciate it. Any other questions from the board? If not, I will look to our community. I'm not sure if we have any attendees in the room or any questions in our chat.
We have 2 attendees, but no questions tonight.
Right? Motion to adjourn. Leave it at that. On that note, motion to adjourn. So moved. Second. All right, all in favor? All right, thank you. Favor,